And your parents' names were?
John McDonnell and Annie Mullen.
What did they do for a living?
Well, my mother really never worked outside the house very much, except during the war. She worked in a bookbinding company or something.
Oh.
It's hard to remember.
World War II.
But my father, he worked on a railroad most of his life. He had a terrible accident in New York City. That's why we ended up moving to Danbury, Connecticut, because they offered him a job.
What was the accident, Dad?
He lost his leg.
How?
Well, what they used to do is put trailer cars on flat cars to move them to the west coast. And, you know, they would back it up and then bolt it down with cables or whatever. And you had to get off the flat car when another one was coming in time. And apparently, you know, you stepped down the ladder, but his other leg was sticking out.
Oh! How old were you?
41.
You're about 9. What do you remember from that time? Was it a scary? What do you remember from that time after his accident?
You know, it was. He was a primary, you know. Plus, they never had a regular job during the Depression.
Yeah.
So we never had enough money. And he used to take his share and drink.
Yeah.
He really was an alcoholic, as I saw later years. You don't realize it until you get it. You know, oh my gosh, I didn't know what alcoholics were.
Was he the kind of alcoholic that drank alone or drank in pubs?
No, he'd have his friends over and they'd overdrunk. You know, and then on weekends he'd go to the bar, you know, until he ran out of money.
Yeah.
But then we all ran out of money when he ran out. I remember guys used to steal from like fruit, vegetable trucks. You know, kids, teenagers, I guess. And then they'd come around selling the stuff in the apartment. My mother would never buy it because she knew how they got it.
Were you and your brother Jack ever tempted to do that?
No.
You can be honest. I won't contact the authorities.
But I did. I seemed to get in trouble with the police. And I couldn't quite understand why. You know, like I'd climb up the side of a building. You ever seen these? Somehow they have the pipes outside the building.
Yes.
Then they have a steel clamp that goes around and goes into it. And I'd work my way all the way up to the roof. And then somebody would call the police. You know, have to come down and then they'd take me to the police station. My father had to come and get me and then go with me.
So when your dad, Mark, do you mind? I'm like thinking of questions.
I think you're doing
When your dad got hurt, you were about 9.
Yeah, and he was out of work for a year. But I guess he got something.
Wasn't this before there was like a federal safety net? What would the family live on when your dad's out of work?
Well, because the railroad wanted to settle with him, they took
Okay.
care of all the bills.
Okay.
And I think that was a lawyer. You know, plus that's clearly somebody's fault.
But how about before he got that regular job? I mean, you were born, you probably don't remember a whole lot of the Depression because you were pretty small. But I guess what I'm wondering is, what does a family do in 1938 when there's no money coming in?
Well, there was money randomly.
Okay.
You know, like to have bread in the house was a big deal.
Wow.
But you rarely had anything to put on it, butter or jelly.
Okay.
But, you know, you're just going to survive on bread.
Yeah.
And,
What did you eat? I mean, what was food when you were?
well, being Irish,
railroad
they lived on potatoes.
And potatoes were probably cheap.
Well, yeah, like a penny a pound or something. Everything was, I don't know if you ever seen prices of the Depression, but you see apples 5 cents a pound or something like that. Apples, potatoes were like 2 cents a pound.
So what would you have for breakfast?
Bacon and eggs was.
Really?
Yeah. But my mother, she never appropriated U.S. ways.
Yeah.
Never.
In what way are you talking
Well,
about
like-
specifically?
Most of my friends would eat dry cereals.
Oh.
We never get them.
But
And
aren't
you wanted to then? You
Well,
wanted
yeah,
to instead
I
of
wanna-
instead
yeah,
of
I'd
bacon
like
and
to
eggs,
see
huh?
what other kids are eating.
Sure.
And, you know, we used to get little prizes.
Uh,
We'd have those. And,
was there always? It was always
yeah,
there.
it seemed like most of the time there was always something. You know, we drank tea too.
You say
bread
mo-
and tea would suffice sometimes.
You're saying most of the time there was something. I mean, was
Yeah,
that
I would say
all the
most of
time?
the
Or
time.
did you remember
All the
going?
time.
You were starting to say this. You remember thinking about running away.
Well, I did regularly at night,
And,
but
yeah.
then I'd go to the movies, and by then it'd be 9 or 10. I better go home. I don't know where to go.
how long?
You were talking about having enough to eat though at the time. What was?
Well, I would take 2 or 3 slices of bread.
Yeah.
I knew how to break into railroad cars too. You know, I had that. We had this wire identification to show that it was broken in. Well, we lived right next to the railroad yards, and you know, everything was by railway from the west. So, like melons, watermelons would be 2 feet high in the thing, back thrown with straw, you know, so they could travel. Well, like melons and oranges. I opened the book to see oranges.
So you take them out of the railroad cars?
Yeah.
How did you open them up? I mean, you
Well,
said there's
you know, once you break the seal,
with a
yeah,
crowbar or?
something, not a crowbar. I didn't have a heavy, I don't know what I had, maybe a screwdriver in my pocket. You just had to snap it, and then you just slide the door up. You know, and then oranges were there, apples.
So you don't, it was a hard time, but it's not like you remember going hungry or anything.
No.
Okay. Okay.
So okay, we got your.
But we didn't have our choices like we didn't see dessert too much.
Right. What about lunch? What would you get packed up in your? Did your mother? Do you remember what she'd make for lunch?
A lot of times we ate at school. We used to pay 10 cents, 50 cents a week to have lunch at school.
Just kind of hot lunches.
Yeah, 10
What?
cents a week.
Can I have them at school?
Absolutely. Well, let's work food and then we'll go to school. Okay, just 1 second.
I just don't want to belabor too
Okay,
much.
so sorry.
That's okay.
What kind of stuff?
Go ahead.
Culinary kind of things. What kind of things did your mother make for dinner meals?
Well,
Potatoes.
potatoes, but no, always meat and potatoes.
Okay.
Meat and potatoes. Yeah.
And,
Roasts or stew
yeah, usually
or
roast,
hamburgers,
egg, or
casseroles?
something.
Eggs.
Yeah, of course, you know, worried about your diet didn't exist. You know,
Sure,
like,
sure.
grateful to eat whatever came down the pipe,
I guess.
What was the relationship between your mom and dad like?
Looked awful.
Oh,
Yes,
a lot of fighting.
well, yeah, because she would spend money that, you know, once she got the money, you know, you couldn't get a nickel back. Because she would, you know, I suppose mothers become responsible for feeding the kids.
Sure, and he would kind of drink it away. And,
Well, yeah, a number of times. Stuff waiting for the next paycheck.
yeah. Did you and your brother? You have a brother 2 years old, 3 years older? How much? 3 years, and then Jack, and then Lucy is 3 years younger. Did you guys hang out a lot together? Or was that too much of a difference?
Much,
Okay.
especially in New York, because we ran contemporaries.
So, what kinds of stuff did you do as a kid to amuse yourselves?
Oh, I was a loner.
Really?
That's why I guess I love meditation.
Yeah.
I got a quiet love affair with myself. You know, I would really rather be with myself than most anybody else. And I used to walk the railroad yard.
Steal food.
No, not that,
I'm
but
kidding.
you had to cross the railroad yard to get to the East River.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I had a wagon, so I was always looking for scrap metal to, you know, sell at the junkyard. But then I started hanging out with these older guys, and they were cheaters. They'd find a piece of lead, and then they'd melt it down, and then they'd look for a piece of iron, and then melt it in again, put the iron in the center. Hey, that's pretty clever. You know, because the scrap yards just couldn't get enough materials.
Yeah.
This is World War II, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Huh. Were you a reader? Do you remember getting books as a kid and reading, or did that come later? Because you certainly became a reader.
Well, yeah, but I think I was living in Danbury then.
Oh, what? Okay, before you moved to Denver, do you remember much going to school in the New York City school
For some
system?
reason, I hated school.
Yeah.
Like the first grade, it takes a while to grow into it.
Catholic school or public school?
Well, it was Catholic schools.
Okay.
You know,
Do you remember any of the teachers or
No,
just blanked it?
I was in a class that had 50 or 60 kids, and we were in there for 4.5 hours, and then she'd go to lunch, we'd go home, and she'd have another 50 or 60
Holy
in the
cow!
afternoon. Double sessions, they were called. And
Wow.
I always used to love to get the morning one because then I could get
Yeah,
off
the whole day.
at 1 o'clock.
Oh,
And you just go for long walks.
Yeah.
And,
And,
yeah.
your parents worried about you taking off like that? And,
as a kid.
No, all the other kids would get called in at different times, but I never did.
Oh, thank you.
So you'd walk home from school?
Yeah,
To and from?
yeah, all the schools, even the public.
How far would you have to go?
5 or 6 blocks. Catholic school was 139th Street, and then we lived on 136 for a while, and then 133rd, so only 3 or 4 blocks.
You moved to Danbury because of your dad's job?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
Was this after the accident?
Right, they made a settlement with him, they gave him $8,500 and a guarantee of jobs for me and Jack and whoever married Lucy.
And you were what, 10 at the time?
40, no, we used to go up for the summer
Okay.
because she bought an old house for $1,800,
Huh.
you know, and
So
Like the house we
8,400,
lived in.
yeah. 8,400 was
No,
a fortune.
1,800.
Oh, no, but what did the railroad give him?
$8,500.
That must have been a
Well,
huge
yeah.
amount of
But he
money.
could have had more, right? Didn't he work out a different deal? That
Yeah, well, part of the deal was, and that was a very lucrative thing that people in those days, remember the tough times, a job was almost impossible to get. But Ray is the only one that
Took him up on it.
I worked every year. Jack worked it 3 years, I think.
so, I mean, what was the deal that he worked? They didn't give
He
you some
worked-
kind of stuff.
That his 2 sons and son-in-law, when they got married, were guaranteed a job for his life.
For his life. Okay. So he's
Now, when he
thinking,
died, the deal was ended. Rather than going down off of it, so was Jack.
Do you remember, I don't know, do you remember like as a kid how you felt about that? Was that like a secure thing?
I didn't
or
know
like,
that.
Oh, when did you
Didn't
find
even know
out?
until he died.
Really?
I don't know. Cousin was telling me, or Ray, or
Oh my gosh.
Jack. My father used to, sit and talk. And remember how Lucy and Ray lived right next to my mother? Well, my father used to go up there all the time and drink with Ray. Ray was
So
a
he
heavy
heard a
drinker.
lot more about
Yeah, the inner lives.
Okay.
I'm surprised he didn't push you into that career. I mean, having.
Well, he did.
So, he tried
I
to.
remember when I was 18, he said, why don't you try to go in the railroad? I was working in a factory. I said, you don't know. Well, just go down and talk to him. But he never admitted that I had that.
Yeah.
He did. It's so strange why they keep doing secrets, family secrets. Weird.
It is strange,
Yeah.
isn't it?
If I had that lined up for some, thing like that, certainly I'd talk about it with
Yeah.
sons or
Yeah.
daughters
Yeah.
or
So when you moved to Danbury, what year was it?
permanently renewed in 44.
So you were 12,
Oh.
almost 12. Kind of hitting your teenage years. Was it a really different experience to go from
Well,
being
I had started with a whole clean slate.
The police didn't know you.
You didn't know me. Nobody knew me.
How did that change your life?
Well, I felt a little free. Oh, I loved it. I
Did
loved
you?
that. I found dirt roads to walk
Oh.
endlessly. Working the golf course as a caddy.
Oh, you worked the golf course.
Yeah.
That's
Till I was
right.
15 or so. So that
You had to kind of teach yourself golf. Or at least
you learn.
about
They
the
give you
clubs.
the basic. You're always looking for caddies.
Okay.
And I was big, so I could carry 2 bags and make twice as much on the same walk.
Wow. So you could earn a nice little side income for yourself.
Yeah, it was $1.50 for 18 holes, so it was $3, for the trip, which was about a 5-hour, 4-hour day.
Yeah.
But that was good money.
Good money, and
Kids,
did you like
13,
the
14.
being outside and?
Yeah, and also, you got to be favorites with some of the players, so they'd call you, ask for you.
Were you a favorite?
Well, certain guys,
Yeah. Yeah.
because new kids, we had the guy hit the ball, you had to line up with something so you knew where it was and you walked toward it.
Huh.
It took a while for new guys, even myself, to get that down pat, because if you lost the ball, you couldn't, they don't stay there 5 minutes and then they say, you stay and keep looking for the ball, because the balls were 75 cents or something. Anyway.
Huh. So you started doing that as a teenager. Did you like
No,
school?
before teenage.
Oh, before teenage. Once you moved to Danbury.
Yeah, well, probably I was 13 by the time I moved there.
Okay. Was did you like school any better? Is that when you kind of
No, I
became
never
a
liked
reader?
school.
You never liked school.
Never. I was such a loss. I never. My sister, when I got asked to leave, my mother, they brought her in and said, these classes are too big, and he was kind of disruptive.
You were disruptive in school?
I didn't think so, but that's what they claim.
Is that because you were bored, or?
Yeah, bored. So they kind of took me out and I put me in the public school. Then I'm going Danbury, start all over again, new record, no record.
Was this what, like 5th, 6th grade or something, or something like
Grade,
that?
yeah.
You told me once you had gotten held back a couple times. That must have been hard.
Well, I didn't think about it.
Really? Okay.
6th grade I got held back the first year up in Danbury.
Yeah.
And first grade I got held back. I didn't know I held back first graders.
When did you become? I mean, when I think of you now, I think of somebody who loves to read, who is very much a new idea person, very enthusiastic about new ideas. When did you become that person?
Well, it's a long process.
Yeah.
I remember going to the library in Danbury.
Okay.
Found the library and what a real discovery. And I used to spend like rainy days.
Okay. Okay.
It was really the beginning.
Was that something that your brother or sister ever did, or was that very much
No,
you?
I think that's just me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just loved reading ever since when I really learned how to read.
Yeah.
We just pick it up faster and faster to read more and more.
Were there many books in your household when you were growing up? Did your dad take a paper?
Well, we'd get the daily paper, not the big paper. I think the Bronx News or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. The local stuff.
What was your relationship like with each of your parents? Can you remember from teenage years? Did
Well,
you get along pretty well with each
Well,
of them?
yeah, because they chose me as their favorite. It was awful. I mean, when they cut the cake, if it got a little uneven, I always got the big piece.
Oh, why?
No, Jack
Why
shouldn't.
did Irish parents do that? I don't understand that.
Well, I think they had to do it over in Ireland because they had a big brood of kids.
Right.
And,
Only one could inherit.
Yeah, the little chunk of land, they had to migrate out or something. They could not all hang out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I wonder why not the first son? How come it was you and not Jack?
That's the great mystery of life. Well, I don't know, but I would think a year before a child was born.
Yeah.
A couple of days, I think.
Right in between you and Jack, you mean?
Well, no, just a year before I was born.
Mm-hmm.
So a few months later, then I would get, and then I was delicate. My mother said that's how I got Anthony. That was the first name.
Okay.
Plus her friends kept saying Anthony will save him. Yeah, he did, I don't know.
Ah, so that's why. Okay, no, but she's the one who started calling you Leo.
You never called me Anthony in my life.
Did your dad always call you Leo too?
Yeah, everybody did. A household name. It's so strange.
So you've never been Anthony.
Well, I've always been Anthony, but I never
I
used
mean,
it.
Yeah.
Well, I have to use it now with everything. Credit
Yeah.
card.
but
or,
nobody's called you Anthony.
Right, at school.
Right.
Oh, they do.
Right.
So you're.
And I didn't like it. I just didn't like Anthony.
Yeah. Now
No.
you went to school until what age?
17.
17. Okay, and you dropped out. at that point.
What year was that for you in school? What year? What grade?
What
did you
grade?
get
I think the third year high school.
to? Okay. So
Like maybe a junior year.
End of second. I don't know.
Your parents have any comments about that? Or?
No. Came home that day. I said I want to quit. They said parents had the right approval.
And they did? No question?
The next day, I was home looking for a job.
So that wasn't unusual?
Not in those days,
Okay.
because it was a working town. It was the hat factory center of the world.
That's right, Danbury. Yeah. In fact, Mom's brothers worked there.
Everybody did, one time or other, because it was tightly union, which made it a very good paying job.
Right.
With piecework, the faster guys could make more money. Some of them would make $25 or $30 a day back in the mid-40s, which was a lot of money.
Yeah, did you
No.
get into that then? Did you get into that?
Not that far. I just, they need a lot of auxiliary people, like the different stages of hats, and somehow the grunts would have to carry the half-finished hats to the next machine. Boy, if you held up 1 second, the guy was screaming, calling you everything. I never knew some of the commercials in the world. They weren't running fast enough or getting them there fast enough. Terrible atmosphere because machines were, they made out of fur, blowing all kinds of machines, not loud. They got into some sort of chemical. All the guys that were chemicals, all their fingers were purple, from some sort of acid stuff. They snipped them in and pulled them out and put them on their machine. They were the high-paying guys, but they didn't have any fingers. They were just so gross looking.
Did it come out after a while? Or was it
I
just,
don't know. I doubt it.
So the lint in the air and the
Right.
smell of the chemicals and the sound of
the
machinery.
noise and the yelling. Guy would get in an argument, but they wouldn't stop working, call each other everything.
Great. Welcome to the
Yeah, I mean,
to the working world.
yeah, it was like a sweatshop, but you were well paid if you got eventually onto the machine because the unions controlled everything, which was really great because they got their members quite a significant pay.
Was it all men on the floor you were working with, men and women? Was there any kind of a men's culture that you got broken into that way?
No, I avoided it. It didn't appeal to me. By then I was, I guess I was 17. I had my spiritual conversion somewhere around 50, and I can't even pinpoint when, but I started to want to spend more time at the church. So I did that, so that culture just didn't appeal to me whatsoever.
Stories and jokes and all that kind of thing.
That's what life was in the factories.
His activities in the NRA that you heard about kind of filtered through the family grapevine. I remember hearing also that he had another Irish commitment with the language. Is that?
Oh yes, he it was against the law to learn the Gaelic language. When England was controlling it, but somehow he learned it as a teenager.
So he didn't grow up speaking it, he just learned it?
Nobody, yes, you had to learn it.
He was from County
Mayo.
Okay.
And it turned out a well-known guy from Dublin, who was a peer or something in the government, came to Mayo because that was the most rebellious county. And he wanted somebody that knew the culture and the history. And different people recommended my father, even though he was only 17 or 18.
Great.
Yeah. Wow. So he taught him the Gaelic language. This young man that was eventually took over the same position as his father.
Really had his ears open for
Yeah.
the stories and the culture.
Right.
Got a photograph of him as a fairly young man.
Yeah, handsome guy. Let's see.
His wedding day there?
29. He was 32. My mother was 29, I guess.
32 and 29. So, do you know anything about what kind of family he came out of? Did they
Well,
own land?
6 children.
Farmers?
They had a cottage.
I'll hold on.
They had a cottage.
In
I saw the
Valley,
foundations for it.
Valley Castle?
That little town of Ballycastle, about a half a mile from the shore. You know, they used to do a lot of fishing because that was good protein, whatever. But anyway,
Your father and
he
his
had
family?
6 children. They had 6. He was one of 6,
One of 6.
the oldest. And 3 brothers came and then 3 sisters. And I knew 2 of the sisters. One that stayed in Ireland when I went to Ireland. I hung out with her and her daughter. I lived with her daughter and, you know, visited her mother. She was kind of weird, sad to say. And, let's see, another daughter moved to, my 2 brothers got the oldest daughter to come to New York. And Mamie, and they lived in New York. You know, and he was on the railroad too, her husband. Now, that was one of the very friction points. Because she married a Protestant from Northern Ireland.
Heavens.
That was not a good scene.
But got a job in the railroad, and they brought him over anyway.
But they didn't
Must
get
have
him a
given
job
him.
in the railroad.
Oh, he walked
got
on
himself
the.
a job. He
Did
got a
the
better
family
job. He
still-
was a conductor, and they were the top money makers.
Did the family still get together? When you were growing
Well,
up?
they did, but there was always heavy drinking and then big arguments.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so it was not
Yeah.
not a good place to be. And then when he would drink, you know, my mother came from Northern Ireland too. She came from Tyrone County, tiny Pomeroy, tiny village.
We've got a little picture of her here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now, funny, when I went by myself, I spent 3 weeks there. I have a cousin that was the son of my mother's sister that never left Ireland. Never got married, but they had a son, Michael Mullen. And I wouldn't be surprised it was, well, I don't have any reason. I don't think it was this and the brother never left. They lived together their whole lifetime. It was kind of strange. But anyway,
Not unusual though for Ireland,
I
was
guess
it, to
not,
have a brother
no.
and sister just kind of live together?
anyway, I went and I met some of my mother's friends in Pomeroy, and it was just so interesting to hear them talk about this 21-year-old and talking about going to the United States on her own. And
What did they say about her?
yeah, they were saying, you know, she was pretty brave, and you know, she was supposedly engaged to kind of a well-to-do farmer.
Mark, we're gonna switch pretty soon and have you go get the kids because I keep
They were wondering why she was giving all that up to go into New York. You know, nobody seemed to have any answers around that.
About why she left it all?
Yeah, left, you know, a good possibility, I guess.
Sounds like, economically a good catch, so she must have been looking for more than that then.
Yeah, something more, exactly. So she came to New York like everybody getting off the ship, you know, Ellis Island.
Did they say at all what she was like, or any stories about
Well,
her
she
from
was,
childhood?
you know, loved dancing, and you know, I couldn't recognize her. You know what they were saying. You know, because she was so incredibly serious in life. It was sad.
And when about did she come over? When did she make it here?
I don't know. My father, I think, was 1921. He was a real developed New Yorker. He ran booze, you know, made booze, sold it.
He was a moonshiner.
Yeah, he
or a
was,
bootlegger.
you know, active activist and whatever he got into strongly.
Yeah, I agree.
But you know, you're making booze and drinking it, and you know, so it didn't take long to become an alcoholic, I guess. He drank his whole life. No, he didn't. He collapsed, you know, really broke down emotionally, and let's see.
Who is this
I
again?
was in high school,
His dad.
and you know, they take him to this hospital, state hospital, about 2 months. He got committed to stop drinking. So he never did, but he slowed down tremendously.
So did she come over after him then? I suppose?
Well, she came over later, yeah, because, yeah, I would think it was in the mid-20s.
Okay.
She was in New York about 4 or 5 years.
So she would have had only a few years of good times in New York before the crash.
Right.
Which,
29.
Right.
They got married in 1929.
Ooh,
Before the
bad
crash,
day.
yes.
Bad time, rather.
wow.
But, something just slipped in and slipped out. You know, it was like when she was in her 20s. And then, you know, they were always going to Irish parties, and that's how they met, you know, every Saturday night, Friday night, maybe even Sunday night, I don't know. Anyway.
So they said that she liked to dance, that she was...
back then in the younger years.
Yeah, and what else did she say that didn't quite fit your
Well,
memory of her?
she was like vivacious, you know, she was really outgoing, and what got here, she's so turned in, she was incredibly shy, and just didn't appropriate one of the regular ways of living in the United States. I know money always played a key part, or lack of it. You know, we never had a telephone, never had a car, never had a refrigerator. God, I remember the ice cream coming for years and years.
Do you think she was embarrassed about not putting on a good front with the neighbors? I mean,
I have no idea.
did
No,
she
all
pull
the
in
neighbors
because
were in
of
the
that?
same boat, kind of,
Same
or
boat.
most of them were.
Did she get out at all, or was she pretty much within the home?
She stayed at home, although she got desperate. Well, during the early 40s, when my father was, you know, I guess living off of whatever the railroad gave him to live off, it wasn't enough. She got went into this factory that was like they bound up books. I remember she brought a book home. Lassie, remember the movie Lassie?
Mm-hmm.
She brought that book home because they were printing 10,000 of them or 10 million, whatever.
Did she seem to change at all with her work experience?
No,
I
she
see.
didn't like it.
She didn't like it?
No.
Was she able to keep her
money
own?
was very helpful.
Did she keep her own money when she went out to work?
Oh no, no, I don't know how the money worked. They were so quiet about that. She always wanted to get his check as soon as he cashed it. You know, to
Sure.
control
To
the
make
money.
sure
They always
that
control
you
the
go to
money.
the right things.
Yeah.
She would have loved direct deposit.
But the credit card would have scared her.
Yeah, it's true. Credit cards would have been
So,
scary.
At any rate,
Yeah.
I can't think of too much.
That's okay.
They lived in a very, I saw their cottage, and I saw cousins of, on my mother's side too, and they were doing well. You know, this was in the early 80s.
Did she have interests that you knew of? Your mother? Did she have
Interest.
interests besides you or her beloved?
I don't know what they were.
Okay.
She must have.
She was a very devout woman,
Yeah.
wasn't she?
Oh, very Catholic, to the right
Right.
of God, JP
Okay.
the second.
Well,
Yeah.
let's come back to that in just 1 second to start kind of your faith story. As far as you remember it, do you remember anything at all about your grandparents? Stories, names,
No.
anything at all, occupations?
Well, they were no doubt farmers. You know, lived in a very rural area. Even when I saw it, you know, a little town of, you know, 150, 200 people, I guess. Even in the 80s. No. I don't think
That they were farmers, but no
Worked the farm.
other stories came down. Well, let's start talking about your family's faith history then. You were starting to talk a little bit about your mother.
Yeah,
and
she
her
was
devotion.
very...
What was her spirituality like?
Well, I was always had to go to the Venus on Tuesday night and church every Sunday. You
Did
if you
you-
missed church, you couldn't go out of the house for the day.
Everybody in the family? Or
Anybody.
you in particular?
No, I mean anybody and everybody.
Did she ever
Stayed home
express a
because she
wish?
said-
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
You thought, you know, if you were, you said you were sick, and she'd accept that, but then you couldn't go out, couldn't say I got better in the afternoon.
Right.
That didn't work.
Did she ever express a wish that you would have a vocation?
Oh,
She would
yeah,
be a
I think.
priest.
She never said it directly, but she certainly implied. I think she talked to the priest. St. Joseph's in Danbury.
I'm going to move over here because it's easier to. I mean, I know from the stories you've told me, by the time you went to Korea, you had a very strong
Oh, yeah.
faith. Can you, Mark, would you mind? Thanks, sweetie.
The tapes.
The tape's out?
Tapes getting close.
Okay. How'd you get there?
Well, that's the great mystery of life. I was such a mundane kid going to church. Went because you're supposed to go. Never thought of it. But somewhere at 14 or 15, I started getting pulled to go. Go for visits, stuff like that. And I kind of just went with it. I want to spend more time in church, quietly.
Was there, do you remember like a mentor or a book or something that sort of.
I can't remember anything that steered me that way. I didn't read it.
Very internal.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And so you became devout in your way.
Because by 16 or 17, I was the devout one of the world. I just prayed, I just went to church, never would swear. I go out with the guys, and they'd all go drinking in New York, but I never would drink, I would just get a Coke.
Was that because of your faith commitment or because of your dad?
Well, my father.
Okay.
The fact is, I don't know if I told you, I took a vow to God that I would never drink until I was 21.
How old were you when you took the
I
vow?
think about 17.
Wow.
That way I thought, well, God will help me with this.
Yeah.
Like Jack, I saw him, he was a heavy drinker by the time we got to high school.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
by the 21, I just wasn't interested.
Yeah.
It's like I never had a liking for beer, for instance.
Yes.
Never drank it.
You're still not a big beer drinker. You like wine, but you don't like beer a whole
Well,
lot.
even wine, I don't think I drink it once a week.
Yeah. Now, when you, so this is when you were 16 and 17, you started feeling, you really became devout. And you had a strong devotion to Mary. I remember you saying.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. That was a big part of your
my
spiritual identity.
My spiritual, my prayers and stuff
Right,
like that.
right. A lot of rosaries. Very.
Yeah. All very quiet. Nobody. My mother noticed it certainly. My father did too. And that's when I started thinking I might be a priest.
And did you start thinking that way too?
Yeah, lightly. I went down to a seminary. A priest asked me to go just to check it out. It was in New Canaan Seminary. I think the Holy Ghost Fathers. It wasn't a priest from the church. He was a visiting priest. You know how they come in on Sunday because there are about 9 masses to be said.
Right.
So he was a young fella. So we got talking a couple times afterwards, and then he invited me in. I went down.
Right around this time, you were sort of thinking about toying with the idea of becoming a priest. Your faith life is getting a lot stronger. Now you also meet Barbara. You also meet Mom.
I met her in January of 1950.
So you were 17.
So was she. She didn't become 18 till next month. She was a senior in high school, so yeah, I remember.
And you weren't in high school anymore at
No,
that point.
I was
Okay.
working, but I'd always make arrangements. I was working in a grocery store.
Uh-huh.
I was in the fruit department, and I would make arrangements to take my lunch when I knew she was, walking. She worked at Grant's after school. The Amber's kind of little town it was. Yes, I could walk up and carry a book like those movies.
Do you remember your very first meeting? Who introduced themselves to who?
Oh, well, I was at a roller skating rink.
Okay.
I guess she was shy, so I must have.
So
You come, how you
Right.
roller skate around circles, and
yeah.
I guess I caught up with her. I said, "Can I roller skate with you or something?" I guess asked her. I don't remember.
That's kind of cute. So, do you remember your first date?
Well, I didn't have a car, so it was difficult. And first date, oh God, I broke it because.
You broke the first date?
Well, a friend committed to a Saturday night date. His date fell through, so he wasn't going to drive us
It was a double
around.
date.
Yeah, right. That's the only way I could get a car, get a date. Except go with her parents. So she suggested that. They used to go to movies just every Saturday evening.
Yeah. So she suggested.
Yeah, if we no date, let's go to movies together.
What'd you do?
But my parents, well, beggars can't be choosers. Do it. I wanted to do it. So.
You don't remember what you saw? Your first date?
All the big movies of the 50s, early 50s. Because that was 1950, yeah.
Yeah. And you guys dated for how many months before she left the state?
Almost a year.
Dated for a year?
Yeah, because they left just before Christmas and we had met in January. And,
What was the usual date with Mom?
well,
Did you?
going to the movies, necking, very pure. Pure. No misbehaving at all,
Of course
ever.
not. Of course not.
Never you, Leo.
So a lot of the movies.
Movies,
and-
in summertime we used to go a lot to the beach. Of course.
Okay. Which beach?
Squan's Pond. Like, what happened back in those quiet days, all the stores in Danbury would close at noontime on Wednesday.
Huh.
Yeah.
That was just everybody's beach day?
Yeah, kind of whatever you want to do during the summer.
Huh.
And,
So you'd get off.
Yeah, and then finally I got a car. Learned how to drive. I didn't know how to drive when I met her.
Was it an old piece of junk that you
Well,
got?
it turned out to be. Well, I only paid $100, so it wasn't going to be a long-time car. It was a 1940 Nash. You don't even ever heard of that car. They went out of business in about late 50s, I think, or 60s.
So you'd kind of go to the beach and just did you get together with friends or was it usually just the two of you?
Just the two, or sometimes with Florence.
Okay.
She is, 7 years old.
7 years older.
Let's see, she's 8 years exactly older than me.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I'm going to be 72.
So
in
she was
October.
25.
She's going to be 80.
Yeah. So she was about 25 and you two were about 18.
So occasionally she would get a date, and the four of us would go.
Okay.
But I usually did it with friends. We used to go roller skating a lot, and stuff like that, and movies.
And then when did you guys get serious?
Well, I don't know. I felt pretty serious by the late summer. I don't think she did.
Okay, and because she was planning on leaving.
Yeah, well, at some point, yeah, because her father had asthma, and the doctor said, well, you ought to try Arizona,
Yeah.
Because you can't work, you can't breathe. So finally they were waiting to sell their farm. They had a blueberry farm, and I call it blueberry farm because that's what they sold during the summer, in the front. But they sold it to a developer, so they got pretty good money out of it. And then they left in December, I guess.
So yeah, and then they bought their motorhome and.
Yeah, they bought a motorhome and went off.
Mom's memories.
What a loss.
Yeah, Mom's memories of that are just the excitement of seeing the
going out.
country as a
First I
young
went to
woman.
Florida to visit Bob, who was in
Yeah.
got recalled back to the Air Force. He was a prisoner of war.
Wow.
The Second World War, and he escaped. Well, Switzerland, what happened was his plane got shot down, and they bailed out, but they landed in Switzerland. and that was neutral country. So they the Swiss locked up both sides, whoever they came into the country. But they were very casual about it, and they escaped.
Much.
And they had to work their way across France to get, which was occupied then.
Wow. Huh. So, but Mom's memories were kind of excitement, adventure.
Yeah.
How do you remember that time when she's
Well, there
packing up to
was a
leave?
sadness, I said, oh my gosh, because we were dating 3 nights a week.
Wow.
Wednesday and Friday and Saturday.
Mm-hmm. What did they call that back then? Did they call it dating? Did they call it going steady?
Well, yeah, I guess both of those terms.
Okay. But you felt this was serious.
Well, I did.
Yeah. And she's all excited because she's going across the country, never to return.
Yeah, I remember saying goodbye. We were sitting in the car, just talking. It was the last date. Just kissed and said goodbye. Go home.
How do you remember feeling?
Oh, terrible. And then she never wrote. Jeez. What a loss, Every week I was looking for a letter. I was thinking, I wonder if my mother. Oh, my mother. She acted so weird when she called. Barbara was scared to call.
Oh, why didn't your mother like Barbara? Didn't she like
never
Mom?
met her.
Wait a
wasn't
minute.
interested in meeting her.
Favorite
How can
child,
you-
zero.
wait a minute,
She
wait a
was- She
minute.
had to have been terrible competition.
How can you date a girl that seriously up to 3 nights a week and she never met? Mom
No,
never
she
met
knew
your
I was
family?
dating her. But she didn't want to talk to her, didn't want to meet the parents, didn't want anything to do with her.
Did she act that way with Jack and Lucy's?
Well, Jack was over in Korea by then, I don't know.
Okay.
Lucy was
It's
only
Barbara that was the initiator of the distance.
14 of her. Yeah, that's right.
It's not your mother.
Yeah, well, I guess that's also very serious as a Catholic. She was probably grateful to see her going west.
Well, wait. No, I get the sense
Your
that
dad
your
said that
mother
it was
or my
your
mom,
mother.
Barbara or Annie,
Barbara
was the
didn't
one
want to see.
who initiated the distance. Was it that Barbara did not want to meet your parents, or vice versa?
No. Barbara's level-headed. She was
Okay.
glad to meet him, but
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Annie was just not with it.
Okay.
Didn't want to see her. Okay.
How about your father? Did he express any interest in meeting your girlfriend that you were falling in love
No,
with?
he just was like a bumping along. He didn't say anything either way.
This is some dysfunctional family.
Amen.
It's amazing. I mean, to hear this. So Mom sort of, she didn't really think anything was going to come of this,
No.
evidently,
No.
and so she takes off, and you're late.
Well, I was sad for about 6 weeks, and then I didn't start dating anybody. But, I just got busy. Oh, I know, I switched jobs. I got into the railroad. My father said, you're only making $1 an hour. You get on in the railroad, you make $1.50 an hour immediately because
That's a
of all the
huge
unionized
difference.
jobs. Yeah, so 50% raise.
So you did end up working on the railroad.
Yeah, I did.
Is that when you found? But you still didn't find out that you had a lifelong job there if you wanted it.
No,
That's funny.
never found that out until 20 years later.
I wonder why your father never told you.
Well, that's the dysfunctional part of this whole family. They're so dumb not to. Because I don't know if I would make decisions on it, but knowing I had that option, like Jack used to quit, head to California, come back, not going to do it, because once you leave the railroad, you never got a job. But Jack would pop up like another. Here he was again, the Monday morning working. The guy says, how did he do that, I wonder? Nobody ever knew.
So you moped around for 6 weeks and looked for letters that never came.
And then one letter came, and all she talked about was this new wonderful job she got, and how much money she was making.
Where was she at this point?
California.
Okay. And what galvanized your decision to head on out to get her, win her back?
Win her back, I guess. I don't know. Let's see. She left in December. Oh, I know. In May and June, I started to think seriously of joining the Marine Corps.
Okay. This is, she had left in what month?
December.
December.
previous
So
year.
about 6 months later. You're 18 by this point.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Korean War has begun?
Oh, the Korean War had started in 50, and now it's 51.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
June of 51.
All right.
Anyway,
What made you think about joining the Marine Corps?
well, I just dreamed about it for years.
Why? Why do you think the Marines in particular?
Well, I thought that's where the action is.
You wanted action?
I wanted action.
The reason I'm asking is because it's an interesting contrast with the contemplative
Right,
you,
I know it.
who loved going for walks alone and reading, and it seems an interesting part that wants to be not only in the military but in some of the toughest.
I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought about it, but then nothing comes.
Yeah.
Makes any sense.
And you knew there was a war going on, so this was
Well, I
not
wanted to
just
get into the war.
you wanted to get
Worried
into
the war would end before our training was finished, because
Yeah.
they train you for 6 months.
Were a lot of guys joining up, or was it kind of unusual to be excited about joining the military in 1950?
I don't know.
Okay.
This was 51.
51, you're right, I'm sorry.
I joined in July 51. Yeah. Anyway, when I decided I wanted to do that, and then I started thinking of Barbara again. So I wrote her a letter and said, I'm joining the Marine Corps, and I love you, and I want to come out and see you before I join the Marine Corps.
Huh.
She said, good, come along.
How'd you get out to California?
Well, flew out.
You flew to California back in 51?
Well,
It must have been-
the plane made about 4 stops.
Was it enormously expensive?
No. Well, it was for then. It was about $150.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for
Yeah, well, I had saved. I was making good money. I gave my mother some money. I forget what I gave her. And I didn't spend any money.
Yeah. What was it like that if you were going to join the Marines from there, you were saying goodbye to your family. What was it
Well-
like saying goodbye to them as you're heading off to California and the Marines and Korea and...
Well, because I did it intentionally because I wanted to get stationed close to the Barbara.
Barbara, right.
So,
But what was it?
well,
Can you remember
they
saying
were
goodbye?
disappointed. My mother said, "Oh, your father is sick. You can't go." I said, "Well, I gotta go." Spirit of me said, "Go."
What was your dad sick with at the time?
He had a stroke or something.
Okay.
It wasn't working.
Okay.
Somehow psychologically, I felt I had to get out away from my mother.
Yeah.
I never verbalized that, but it must be. What do you think?
Imagine.
Jack was already gone. Lucy was about 15 at the time, so she
Right.
was obviously still at home. Now, she
High
got
school.
married very young, didn't she?
Yeah, she got married 3 months after high school.
Okay. But she was still, so she still had Lucy at home. Okay. So you...
But I think because I was going out to see Barbara, she said, "Oh, there goes my potential priest," flying away.
Did she make you feel guilty for leaving?
She always tried, but I'd listen. But I was kind of determined to do what I was going
Were
to
you
do.
kind of passive aggressive, or did you argue with her? Did you just sort of
No,
listen to
I
her and
just
then go your own
listened,
way, or?
But do what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So Barbara's excited about seeing you, and you hop in your plane and you pack up your possessions
Right,
and
found them in Monterey Park, in a trailer park. And
do you remember seeing her again? What it was?
yeah, it just felt wonderful seeing her again.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have a car, so here we go, family.
Where did you stay?
Barbara, I, and all the others. Florence, father and mother.
They were living in a trailer at that
Yeah,
point?
that was their trailer. They moved it. They tried Arizona, but the air was something affected them. Then they said try California. That was when California's air was clear.
So you moved in?
So they moved. No, they wouldn't allow that. I just, it was, I had a, what do you call it? Not a hotel.
Like
What do you call the thing that right along the road?
motel, like a
Motel,
cheap little
yeah.
motel. Okay.
Yeah, so I had motel room.
Okay.
It was all of $7 a night.
Okay. Did you get
I never
along?
had a shower in my life till I got there.
That was your very first shower?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Oh, no. I must have had them in high school after playing sports.
Okay.
But I don't remember that. I remember taking this luxurious shower. Wow.
How much did motels go for?
$7.
$7 a night. I'm amazed you can remember these numbers. That's fascinating.
Well, that was a pretty significant time. Now, it turned out that Barbara's family knew that this is pretty serious if I was coming out to spend 3 weeks with Barbara.
Yeah.
And then we went out to Catalina Island.
Right.
Well, Florence went with us. And, you know, I think in those days I wouldn't think of doing anything inappropriate.
Right. So Florence was a chaperone.
Yeah, she was really a chaperone.
Ah.
A lot of fun.
Okay.
She was, you know, really enjoyed each other.
Right. Right. Is so you would. What do you remember of those 3 weeks?
Well, it was just a delightful, magical time.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember? I mean, did you and Barbara you and Mom get together every day?
No. You know, we'd go somewhere. You know, oh, I know. I wanted to explore the city, Los Angeles, because it's about 6 miles out. So Barbara was working.
Oh, that's right.
So I'd eat dinner with them, and you know, we might go to movies or you know walk around. It was really summer, so they really gave us our privacy.
Did you feel like her parents liked you, or were
Oh,
they
yeah.
tolerating
They
you?
really did. No,
Okay.
they really did. Wasn't like my parents.
Well, your mother liked you.
You know, and we come back from Catalina Island, and it was just incredible. Oh, when I was down in Los Angeles, I went into a jewelry store, looking at wedding rings.
Wow.
And nothing was ever said between us.
So you don't even remember proposing?
Oh, I do, but
Oh, okay.
it wasn't then. It was a week later when Barbara asked something like that. I said, well, why don't you ask?
Wait. Back up. I never heard this
Kind
story.
of naive.
So you're just kind of blissfully going along these
Yeah,
few weeks,
well,
and Mom's waiting for a question that is not
I
being
didn't
asked.
know that till the third week.
And then, so you're about to go and you know get into the Marines, and what does she say to you?
Well, yeah, it was only about like less than a week, I think.
And you sort of talked
Well,
about.
I was running out of money, so I had to go in the Marine Corps.
Had the word marriage?
No, I don't remember it coming up. But
Okay.
one night we just got talking. I said, I went to a jewelry store. You know, I didn't buy anything. I said, I just looked at them and figured out what the cost was.
And you hadn't even asked her yet.
No.
So then she
Oh,
said.
that's very interesting. Who do you think I'd given it to?
Did she really say that?
No, she didn't say anything like that.
She's too sweet. And so she said, "You gonna ask me something, or?"
Well, yeah, something like that, exactly. And I didn't get it initially. I was slow.
So did the words ever sort of get out then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Barbara, will you marry me?
Did you go down on one knee, or?
No. She said,
Where were you?
we were sitting in a car. Maybe that's where we hung out. We didn't go anywhere, we just sit in the car.
But you didn't have a car.
Yeah, I didn't have a car.
Whose car was it?
Florence's car.
Oh, okay. So she obviously said yes.
Yes. And she went in and, you know, that evening and told all the parents, and they were all delighted.
Oh,
No
good.
end.
Good. Did they
And
have
the
a?
next day, she said, well, why don't we call your mother? I said, oh.
Did you?
I don't know why I did, but I did.
What'd she say?
I don't remember. Probably said, oh.
That was it, huh?
I don't know what she said. I couldn't hear, you know. Number one, it was costing $1 a minute, you know,
Yeah.
in California in those days. That was a lot of money for an hour's work. And, you know, it was so,
Scratchy, like the connection.
yeah. No, the connection was, you could hear and talk, but the tension was kind of there. So it didn't go well, I don't think.
Okay.
But, you know, I'm glad Barbara pushed it because that way it got it formed
She sort of
back
need-
on my family.
Yeah, she sort of needed to know your mother.
Right, one way or another. But then, it's interesting, then when I went off, I went down to Camp Pendleton, and that's where I got my boot camp.
Is that San Diego? Camp
Yeah.
Pendleton? Yeah, we were there.
Right. And And then they didn't want to stay in California, so they wanted to go back to Connecticut, Danbury. When they sold their farm, they kept out a couple lots. One to sell to his son and one for his trailer. So they wanted to get back to Danbury.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but Florence and Barbara had good jobs. And they were in the office and very progressive company.
In the pictures of your wedding, which is obviously a couple years after this because you go
Yeah,
into
53.
Korea, her parents are there. Did they just come
they
back
drove
out for
back.
the wedding? Oh, okay. Oh, I was thinking that they had been living there the whole time. So Barbara and Florence stayed on their own.
Yeah, for a couple
Wow.
years.
That's interesting.
And so I would come up, from boot camp, you don't get any leave for 12 weeks.
Was boot camp tough?
It was terrible. Hard.
A lot of screaming.
Oh, I don't even want to think about it. But anyway, just so abusive verbally, and it push you if you, all kinds of things.
Did you stay out of trouble, or
I tried
did
to.
you kind of blend in, or were you?
I
somebody
always
that-
try to blend
Or were
in.
you peeling potatoes a lot?
No, sir.
Were you able to do all the physical requirements or?
No, I wasn't. My upper body wasn't strong. And push-ups was their favorite.
You told me once you had a hard time doing the push-ups that
Oh,
they
they were
required.
exhausted. And then if you didn't like it, it put your foot on your back and said, "Now try it."
What did you do? Could you
Well,
do the
couldn't.
push-ups?
If you couldn't, you couldn't.
Did they scream in your face if you
Oh,
couldn't? And-
that's all they did.
Oh,
12 weeks of it.
oh, jeez.
And marches, and it's two big, very sharp hills. You sit under a tree in the shade. To the rear hike, down and up. And then 20 minutes later, the rear hike again, and do that for hours.
Did you see yourself differently after you came out of boot camp?
Well, I thought, gee, I'm a survivor. Really surviving this, and really quite proud.
Did you feel like a Marine
Well,
at that
I did,
point?
but I
Or?
really wasn't fully trained. But the next set of training was infantry training, where, I know, I took a test, and we all took tests. Even though I didn't graduate high school, I was very good at math. So he said, we're going to make you a forward observer. The numbers indicate that you can pick up what you need to pick up there. So each time we went out in the field and training exercises, I played the part of the forward observer.
It sounds
what
like
exactly does the forward observer
Well,
do?
he hangs out with the infantry, and he spots a target, and you have a radio man and a telephone. And you call back, and you have a map, and you got give him the angles, the azimuth, and all that business. And if you miss, say left 50 yards, hit again.
so. You've got you called it back to the artillery, and they're shooting over your heads.
Yeah, with the infantry line, they're shooting over into whatever.
That's a little unnerving, isn't it? Knowing they're behind you and they're going to be shooting over you.
Well, that was at least the best. That didn't have no failures. Unless the guy really screwed up and put him, That I never saw it happen that the shells would be coming behind us.
Right.
They just
Right.
lobbed over.
Did you was it a scary job?
Well, it could be.
Yeah. Was it
Well, first I had to spend time on the guns itself.
learning to
I
shoot?
had to learn that, how to shoot.
Had you ever had a gun before?
No. I guess I think I stole one.
It's okay. How old were you when you stole a gun? And what did you do with it?
I was about 13. I kept it in the house. Then somehow the police found out, and they knocked it out the door. I was fortunate that I didn't end up, like if I stayed in the Bronx, I probably would have ended up in a reform school,
Really?
because it was building up.
Stealing stuff, you mean?
Well, that, and climbing up buildings, and rock fights with other kids. You know, the block was your block,
Right.
and the other block was their block, and something, big argument, one guy would beat up somebody in this block, and then everybody would say, well, let's
Yeah.
get
Kind
our
of
rocks
gang
and go
warfare,
after them."
sort of.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
not knives, I don't remember knives, but rocks were our favorite weapon of choice.
I know we're jumping backwards a little bit. Obviously, this wasn't a time of rampant drug use in the
No.
Bronx, but
Not that I knew of.
okay. But people did smoke and drink, and that was sort of the
Yeah,
drugs
I
of
didn't do
choice. Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I left there in 44,
Right,
so I wasn't even
13,
12 yet.
yeah. You did tell me once you used to pick up cigarette butts.
Oh, yeah.
So you did experiment with
Yeah,
smoking.
right.
Okay. A little
I
bit.
hated the ones with lipstick on them. Usually they were the longest one because the women wouldn't smoke it very much. and
Just
throw it
take a
away.
couple puffs and then pitch
Yeah.
it. Did that sort of set up a long-term cigarette?
No, I
habit?
never learned to inhale until I was probably 16.
When did you start smoking more frequently?
15 or 16.
Okay, and then you'd actually buy packs and not just pick the butts off the street, huh?
Oh, yeah, then I had some money.
Okay.
How should we imagine you? Were you smoking with a bunch of other little boys, or was
No, by this point he's
I was
16.
on my
you're
own.
saying
Oh,
picking
back.
butts off the ground?
All right.
Yeah, well, you'd be walking, you see a long window, stick it in your pocket, smoke later.
Okay.
So it's ice more. Yeah.
Yeah, but we were only about 8 or 9 doing that.
Okay. Okay.
So pass it around all
Always
together.
avoiding the lipstick, even though the other ones were obviously the guy had it in his mouth.
When you were, so you actually started boot camp. You were 19 by then. This is what 50.
No, I became 19
when
after
you were
boot
in.
camp.
Okay, so
Because
you were
I got
18.
out in September.
How do you remember yourself then? The pictures I see of you, you look very cool, for lack of a better word.
Well, I was. I thought.
I mean, so when you think of your self-image at that time, does it feel like a confident young man who's?
Well, yeah, I really was confident then. I made a whole album. I remember picking up the album in Japan. And I put all my Korean War pictures.
Yeah. Do you still
I never
just?
find that.
We gotta find that. That's somewhere. It wouldn't have gotten thrown out. So that's got to be somewhere.
I don't know.
Okay.
But I wanted to take it with me when I moved, but I couldn't find it.
Okay. Okay. So you were cool. You were confident.
Well, I was. Well, I felt in Korea that I was not going to die. That's kind of weird because 55,000 other guys died. But I just felt that God was protecting me, or Mary was.
Did you sort of like do some like consecration of your?
Oh,
Did you make any
gosh.
promises? Like
I was
if you?
running to every time that priest came, say a mass. I was the first guy there.
Talking to me.
While you're coughing, I'm just going to hold this up for the camera. This is what your confirmation picture.
That's confirmation.
Okay. You look appropriately
9 years old, we were confirmed.
9 years old. I just want to make sure there's no.
Well, yeah,
glare
you made
on
your
it.
first communion at 7 in New York,
Okay.
and then confirmation at 9.
Okay.
You can tell by the band, they white.
Yeah. That's right. Very cute picture. So they after boot camp they start training you and they say you're going to be a good
Well, in
forward
the infantry
observer.
training, but I was part of the infantry. I was a forward observer.
Okay. So you felt they sort of chose you because they thought you'd be
Well,
good
they
at
told me
this. Okay. So you started training, and then how long before you were actually sent over?
Well, that training started late September, and it went probably 6 weeks, 7 weeks. It went all the way up to around Christmas because they told us we're going right after Christmas, and we got to leave.
What are your memories of that last Christmas?
Yeah, that was the
With
first
Barbara.
time back home to my mother.
Oh, you went back home. I thought
Well,
you might have
I
spent
didn't
it
know I
with
hung
them.
out with Barbara and the family for most of the time.
Did you spend Christmas Day with them, or did you go back
No,
to?
I spent Christmas Day at home.
What was it like to go back home?
Well, it was just exciting, you know.
Okay.
And then,
Was your mother? How was she? Was she kind of reconciled herself to?
yeah, because the Hubbards went to visit with her, and she was sweet and everything. Just turned it around.
Interesting. She just made a decision that she was
Something.
going to. Okay, that's so. So they've reached out to her.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I think Barbara probably initiated it.
Yeah.
They went back with them.
Okay. Okay. So then, did you fly out from New York, or did you fly back to California and then go to Korea?
I flew back to, I flew to New York for my leave. I only had 4 or 5 days left.
Okay, and then you flew back to California.
Back.
Did your dad, the old NRA guy, have any words for his son going off to the
He was very weak.
to the war?
He was very weepy.
Pretty much seen him cry about anything I ever did or didn't do.
How did that
Well,
affect
it
you?
was very moving.
Yeah. Did he have anything to say that you remember when you were taking off, or just weepy?
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Nothing stand out.
Yeah. Okay. So you went off to Korea. Must have been a long flight to get over there.
Well, it's, like 24 hours.
Yeah.
Because it would land in New York, it would land in somewhere in Indiana.
Right.
We'd drop off some passengers, pick up some more, fill up with gas, go. It zigzagged. Because I remember getting all the way down to San Antonio, Texas. It was what they call an unscheduled flight. If they heard 2 passengers were available somewhere, they would go over and pick them up.
But I guess I'm thinking the flight to Korea must have also
No,
been...
that was on the boat.
You went on the boat to Korea.
21 days, 3 weeks.
Did you get seasick?
Oh, it was terrible the first 2 days. I mean, absolutely terrible sick.
Is that your first time on a boat?
No, we used to take these ferries from New York City up to Bear Mountain Bridge, up to Bear Mountain in the summer.
Okay. But out in the middle of the ocean.
No.
Yeah. Did you stop anywhere on the way, like Hawaii or anything, to get there? Or this was no nonsense. You were heading to Korea.
We had to be there at a certain time because they were called drafts. I was the 17th draft, and we were placing the 5th draft. They were 12 months there, so after 12 months you went home.
So it was a 12-month stint that you had. It wasn't for the duration like World War II was. So you got there. What happens when you first land? Do they kind of rush you into action?
It was so scary. No, we landed in January. Korea is extremely cold. Cold. And landed, we're standing on the dock, and we're like a replacement people. So I was going to 11th Brigade, 11th Regiment, which is the artillery regiment, and 3 or 4 others were going, but we were going to different companies. So it took like an hour just to get going. I mean, it must have been 10 below in this middle of January, bitter cold. They give you all ammunition. I said, oh, geez, they're serious. We're sitting in the truck, frozen. And then somebody passes the word, hey, the last group of trucks got ambushed. Oh God.
Did
I don't
you?
know where we were starting the service, but they fly like...
So you're kind of just inside the middle of a dark truck, waiting to be taken somewhere.
Holding the rifle this way, up tight against the other guy, trying to get a little warm. And driving for about an hour and a half all the way up to the line.
So you basically went off the ship and went right to the front line.
And got there. It turned out there was 3 of us going to the same company. And we get off because the guy called out our names and said, this is here. And the captain of the battery's there greeting us. He says, come on in. They fry up some eggs. Yeah, wow, this is fabulous. Because we didn't have any real eggs. We used to have these powdered eggs, on the ship. So he said, how do you want your eggs?
So it was a nice welcome.
Wow, it was a wonderful welcome, to do. It was ice cold. And then he says, okay, you're going to go to gun 2. And he calls up the guy from that thing, and I follow him. It's pitch. Oh, no, it's not pitch black. It's pitch black walking. But they had these searchlights that were so big, like 7 or 8 feet in diameter. And they were shooting them up at the clouds, and they would reflect down so that the infantry could see what was in front of them.
Wow.
But they looked so eerie.
Yeah.
And then there was always shooting. The guns would all fire off at one time and jump about a foot.
Could they even see what they were shooting at?
No,
or?
no. You're just always working off maps. This guy sees a tank or 2 tanks, and he has his map with his coordinates, and he calls it in.
And that was your job.
Well, not then. I had to learn how to fire these artillery guns first. That took weeks. But but the guys that were up there, that's what they were doing, just calling in and then straddling. You call it straddling. When you got it, then you call the whole battalion in to fire on that same coordinates.
So your first, what images, I mean, you described one, what images stand out?
I was a prayer.
Were you?
When I finally got into the bunker where, this gun, every gun had a bunker for the people to sleep in. So grateful to get in there and get in the sleeping bag and just prayed up a storm. I fell asleep. Down.
Lots of rosaries.
Well, Rosie, Mary. I used to have like dialogue with her. I mean, it was more of a monologue, I'll admit, but. I felt so like protected.
It must have been comforting.
It was,
Yeah.
it's all in our head. It was artificial, in a sense.
Well, but if you're a faithful person, you can feel like,
Right.
You're going to get back, that there's a reason for, you've got things to do.
Get married, have 7 children.
Yeah. I'm glad you made it through. So, I mean, did you, if you remember being a prayer, I mean, what other, from the 12 months, I mean, how do you sort of remember those 12 months of being there? Did you make close friends, or?
No, I'm not, no. I had one semi-close. Then he was in the reserve, so he went home halfway through his tour. They let the reservists call him. Of course, they got called back in the Second World War, and they were very bitter. So they got released. They had to spend the whole year up there.
So you didn't, because a lot of people talk about the friendships formed and.
No, I never did that. I got friendly with some guys, but it was come and go. It wasn't
Deep friendships.
deep at all.
Yeah. Okay. Did you did engage in some battles, right?
Yeah.
What was a battle in Korea like? I mean, you mentioned the one at night that was kind of eerie because you couldn't see.
Well, that was when most of it was.
It was
the Chinese
mostly
like
at
to fight at night for some reason.
The what? The Charlies?
No, the Chinese.
Chinese. And you were fighting the Chinese at that
Yeah.
point, right? Because you were in North Korea?
I think they didn't. We were on the border.
Okay.
I don't know if we were north or south. It's so close.
Right.
It's as far as they pushed them up before I got there, and then they asked for an armistice, which settled in and froze, and that's what the same line is today.
Right.
40 years later.
Right. 50 years later.
The reason I think they would fight at night is because they didn't have air defense. So, they were scared of Americans' air power always coming in, because they were always there dropping napalm,
They were using napalm in the Korean War.
Yeah, that's what they were developing.
Wow.
It was like a 50-gallon drum that would hit the side of the hill and splash and burst into a flame like 50 feet high.
So you got to see it a fair bit.
Not a lot, but boy, I hope he doesn't miss.
Did you know of any episodes where they did miss? And okay.
Well, they might have missed, but they didn't hit online.
Yeah.
I think they were marked somehow. I don't know how. They had their map too, probably.
So you pretty much worked, your role was a forward observer?
Well, that was my job, but I would get other jobs, in fact, most of the time.
Doing,
Simply because, the crew guns were short, people, because you had to have 2 complete crews, night and day, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. So,
did you handle the big,
the shells,
yeah,
You take turns because they're not, I was on 105 millimeter, so they're about 30 pounds.
okay.
But when you push it in, then you ram it with the rammer.
Pushing the big,
The shell.
the shell.
But you put the shell together because it had 7 bags of dynamite,
Wow.
And they say use 5 bags, depending how far out it was going to go.
Was it
Tear off,
dangerous to put them together?
No, it didn't feel dangerous.
If you
but I
dropped
guess
one
it
on your toe, would it have blown up?
Well,
Or?
it broke your toe. I don't think it exploded.
No smoking there though.
No smoke, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the surplus bags were everywhere, Because a lot of times they were much closer, so they were only asking for 3 bags or 4 bags.
So you didn't really march much.
No,
You pretty
we
much
were
stayed put
We fought
on
like
that
it was the
line.
First World War.
Okay.
It was
Just
very
trench.
static.
Was there trenches?
Trenches galore, but they were deep, deep bunkers
Okay.
that recessed into the side of the hills.
And that's where people would hang out?
That's where you lived, yeah. You're sitting in there when you weren't on duty. It's a weird thing. The guy would see a rat, you go,
In the bunker.
yeah.
I guess the bunkers would have been at least a little warmer.
It was much warmer, yeah, because
Yeah.
body heat, and also
Right. Underground.
we had, it was underground, but we also had little,
Bunsen burners?
like, bigger. And, heat those little bunkers up, pretty nice.
What would be the adjectives you would use to describe the 12 months? I mean, boring,
A lot
scary,
of boredom.
a lot of boredom.
Scary, yeah, just all those. Wondering a lot,
Wondering if you're gonna make it.
Yeah, well, hopefully, I was sometimes, what am I gonna get? What's my choice if I had a choice? Getting wounded or getting killed, because
Yeah.
getting killed, wounded can be terrible, a la Fred.
Yeah. 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 You never got wounded.
No.
Okay. Did your hearing get
Well, I
damaged
heard
over there?
because, my brother, he tells me that, still does.
Yeah.
He'll talk and say, you were dumb. You got out of the Marine Corps and you didn't tell him. I didn't tell him I had
Hearing loss.
hearing loss, which was caused by, we didn't have mufflers now. You see them in those wars now. Every guy's wearing them. They were unheard of, and so, you rammed it in, you pulled the ripcord, and it blew up right, you're standing 2 feet from it. And one night we probably fired 3,000 rounds, hour after hour, just pushing, pushing all night. And a lot of days like that. So but I don't want to spend too much on Korea.
Okay. Did you get to know any of the Korean culture or people? No.
No, we only got one liberty, go to Seoul one day.
Can you look back and sort of say, how did that 12-month period shape you? Or how did the Marines shape you? I mean, it's kind of lately
Well,
you've been
they really
reclaiming.
taught me some real disciplines
Okay.
that have worked to help me very much. Because I wasn't a bad person, but I was too casual. They really cleaned that up. Really. When I came out, I felt like a very responsible person. I got really matured.
Confident, responsible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's always stayed with me.
You've kind of, in the last few years, you've reclaimed, I think, more than I
Yeah, I
remember
have,
the
because I
Marine
sent
side.
for their medals.
Yeah. It was almost like you were almost embarrassed about it for
Not
a while,
embarrassed,
or?
but I never joined
veterans.
Marines, veterans, VFW. I never was interested in any of that.
Yeah.
Now, in the last 3 or 4 years here, I've found that marching in the parade.
Yeah. Do you know why it's kind of come back and you're enjoying, remembering, not enjoying, but you want to reclaim
Well,
that?
something, it's a piece of me, so I wanted to acknowledge that. You know, I can't just let it drift away again.
Right.
You know, I noticed nobody ever asked, what's this medal for, that medal for? You know, it's so funny.
What are the medals for?
Well, when you're in a major battle, you got a medal. And, or you had a ribbon, you know, the ribbons are...
Do you have the medals handy? Are they handy? Or
They're
they
on
There you
the
go.
wall in
They're on the
the
wall.
other room.
Okay.
There are like, it's a medal, but then there's a ribbon that goes with it.
Right.
And that's what you wear in your uniform. You don't wear a medal like these
Okay.
clowns in Africa, you know,
Right.
dictators. You just wear the ribbon.
The ribbon.
But if the ribbon was serving in Korea, and then there was a battle, the battle would get a battle star.
Right.
And they give you got a little star for
Right.
it.
And we'll end it for today with
Oh,
this.
my door tags. Yeah.
So that's your name and
Right.
number and
Number and blood type.
And everybody, are those the original, or did you ever lose them, or?
No, I never lost them. I had extra sets.
This is the actual ones that you wore over there.
Yeah, I guess so. When you got killed, they tore off one and stuck it in your mouth.
Oh dear.
Just to let you know.
that's the point of it. Yeah.
Yes, so here's the medal, and then here's the ribbon.
Here, if you could hold it up.
My
just
brother's
so
a
that-
hero, but he won't tell anybody how he got his stars. You know, he was Bronze Star and so on. But he won't tell
Okay.
anybody.
So what was this one for?
But this one's for Korea. Oh yeah, this is the United Nations. I was fighting under the United Nations flag.
Oh, okay.
Internationalist back then.
Yeah, and this is the Korean ribbon. So this would have the battle stars. I think I have 4 of them.
So it's because you were in 4 battles.
Right. And this is nothing but a national defense. I guess every war they created new medals for people. And this one is for not running when they started shooting.
Oh, come on. What's that one called?
Good conduct.
What's it called?
Good conduct.
Good conduct. So you're serious?
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you run, you're a coward. So,
Huh. Interesting. Well, Dad, this is. Did you ever have? I mean, you know, from what I understand, you weren't in close combat.
No.
Okay. So you were sort of spared some of the worst, you know, post-traumatic.
yeah, most of the stuff that was most scary were when mortars would come in. You know,
Okay.
because they were so random, you'd hear boom, boom, and the ground would blow up.
Would everybody just be quiet when they heard a mortar to
everybody
see?
ran, you know, to get some cover. But you know, a couple times I was out in walking between in the field, and all of a sudden they're pounding, and they tell you just lay flat, don't go running.
Right,
They're
right,
going to keep on coming in,
right,
and you know, when it hits, it blows apart, the shrapnel. And if you're on the ground, there's a better chance of getting missed. But anyway, that was the closest thing.
But you don't. It wasn't something, from what I understand, that really haunted you in later years. You just okay.
No.
It was okay. Okay. Dad, thank you.
What do you want to ask?
What's it like when you're grown up?
What's it like
When you're growing up,
growing
mean?
up, I think.
What's it like?
Well, it's, you got to be responsible.
or growing up, or grown up, Brennan.
Growing up, I think, right? Yeah. That's how I'm answering it anyway. And it can be fun, and you can do things you can't do as a child, drive a car, and stuff like that. So, you can look forward to it.
Do you have any questions, Annie? About like maybe toys that Granddad had, or what kind of games he played when he was little?
What kind of number did you like when you were little?
Number?
What's the question?
Did he have a favorite number?
Yeah. Do you like
Oh, I guess it would be 7.
Why 7?
Well, that's my favorite number.
Okay. How about color?
Color would be blue.
Favorite color, blue. Did Granddad have any toys that he played with, do you think? Why don't you ask him?
Yeah, I love cars.
Brandon, are you being silly? Here, go jump on Granddad.
What kind of car did you like? What color car did you like best?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
What color car did you like the best?
Could you move this?
Say it again.
What kind of colored car did you like the best?
Oh, probably blue. That was my favorite color.
Did you ever play soccer as a kid?
No, baseball.
Baseball. Brandon, can you
I
not
play soccer.
play soccer?
Good. Are you good?
Did you have any sports team you followed as a kid?
Wow, yeah, probably Yankees.
Yeah, probably we ate.
30 blocks away.
It
Long way
pets.
to go.
Ask Granddad.
Did you have any pets?
Huh?
Did you have any pets?
Anyone?
Did you have any pets?
Pets.
Yeah, my mother was a cat lover.
Did you have
So we always
cats?
had a cat around the house.
Get my cat.
I remember we got a stray dog that kind of adopted me and followed me home. So I needed to try to get him to stay.
With me. Maybe with a
Uh
I
huh.
never had a dog.
Never had a dog. Did you want a dog?
With me.
You're not there because you're here. You have to go sit over there.
Amy want gerbil.
Yeah, well, that's where you start, little.
Maybe they
Gerbil.
wanted a
Bigger
pet
pets.
dog. Maybe they wanted a pet dog, not a little eating garbage dog. They're like 10.
Nate is perplexed because he wants to see himself in the picture and is rather disturbed that he can't. All right, well, Granddad, we love you, and this was great having you answer our question. All right, today is August 28th, I think, 2005.
29.
29th. We are continuing. We're up at Leo and Gail's house, Dad and Gail's house in Madison. We're continuing our conversation about Dad's life. I might sit right here so I can kind of keep an eye on that. But I think we ended up, we were talking about Korea and your experience in Korea, which brings us up to what year?
53.
Okay.
February.
What do you remember about, did you have to serve a specific amount of time before they let you?
Yeah.
Okay, just 12
Everybody
months.
served a year.
Okay. Can you want to describe where were you heading when you left? How did you feel leaving?
Well, grateful to be alive. Let's see. Well, they just put you on a ship and you sail for 3 weeks from Korea to San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And then you get a week's liberty there, and then they sent you to. I asked to get sent to Camp Pendleton because.
San Diego?
No, Camp Pendleton about 30 miles north of San Diego, because my address showed me I lived in Connecticut, so they normally would send them to Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. But I wanted to be closer to where Barbara was, and she was up in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I got transferred.
I'm sure you were writing her, telling her when you were coming home, and
Approximately.
yeah. Were you guys were engaged by then?
Right.
Okay. So you want to describe coming home, and did you get married right away?
May,
When'd you come home?
February.
Okay. So you had, 4 or 5 months to plan a wedding?
3 months, yeah.
Okay.
You know, she did most of the planning. You know, it was a small wedding, but very nice. Mm-hmm. You know,
None of your family made it.
no.
How come, and how, did that feel funny, or did you feel
No,
sort of distant
We
from?
got a telegram from my family, my mother and father, I remember.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
you know, again, it's back in those days, it just cost a lot of money to travel on a trip to California.
Okay. Okay.
So Jack was in the Army and Lucy was too young.
Okay. You might, just to make sure this works out, if you can possibly try to talk a little bit louder, that would be great. But I mean, you know, I don't want you to strain yourself. So you got married in May of 1953, and what was next? How are you gonna? Where did you have a job?
No, I was still in the Marine Corps.
Oh.
I didn't get out till
Okay.
July of '54. Got to serve your full 3 years.
Oh.
So I got assigned to a unit down at Camp Pendleton.
Okay.
Just did more and more training.
What kind of training? What were you doing?
Well, artillery.
Who were you training to shoot once you were at home?
Well, yeah, they wanted to keep you sharp, I guess. You know.
Okay. Okay.
We'd have targets we'd fire at and stuff like that.
Huh. Interesting.
Very boring.
Yeah.
You know, they should have let us out within a few months.
Huh.
You know.
Did you make friends that you've kept up with at all, or?
Well, I did one that became my best man. He was from Nebraska.
Okay.
And we visited him actually when we were traveling back and forth between California.
Remember his name?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. It was important to me then.
I know.
We kept up with letters for about 10 years.
Huh. Okay, tell me what you can remember from 1953.
Well, it was a year. We were separated. I used to come up to Los Angeles. And then,
This is after you were married, though?
Yeah.
Oh, you had to live down there.
Yeah.
You had to live on the Marine Corps base.
Yeah.
And Mom couldn't live with you?
Well, she could, but she was still working. So she was
okay.
saving. We were saving money that way.
Okay. Well, that's hard.
Yeah.
So the first
First
whole
year.
year?
Just about. She was pregnant then with Mary
She got
Eileen.
Lori.
Lori.
We knew who you meant.
Right. And so, back in those days, after you're pregnant for 5 months, traditionally you quit your job.
Okay.
You know, and then you came down.
Okay.
You know, I got transferred to 29 Palms, California.
Where's
It's
that?
a new Marine Corps base, about 100 miles into the desert,
Ooh.
east of of San Diego.
So you went from being on the California coast into the desert.
Right. And,
And Mom came with you this time?
no, she came down after we were settled in.
Okay. Were you able, were you able to have your own house?
Trailers.
Okay.
The Marine Corps brought about hundreds and hundreds of trailers and set them up. And they were new trailers, so that was nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you're young and it's just the two of you.
Yeah,
Mark and I lived in a trailer.
Finally got together on a regular basis every night, except when I was on guard duty.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that passed, and then got out July 13th.
So right before Lori was born, just a month.
Right, just a month. It was fortunate because she...
Who's
Baby
she?
had to be born within 30 days after discharge, otherwise they couldn't get into the Navy hospital.
Oh my God.
Very close.
So you were rooting Lori to hurry it up, huh?
Let's see, so she was born August 10th. I got out July 13th, so it would have been August 13th. Cut off.
Do you remember if that was the due date or if she was late or early?
I don't remember.
Don't remember, yeah. Huh, that's funny. What was it like? This was back in the day when daddies weren't involved in this. So,
Right.
But what do you remember of Lori's birth?
Oh God, we were living in a very rural area.
Were you still at the 29 Palms,
No,
or
I
okay?
was out, and
Where'd you move to?
what's on the tip of my tongue?
Corona. Corona, that's
California.
right. Yeah. Where was that?
Little town. I mean, the backyard was seemed like miles of orange groves,
Huh.
and just surrounded by them.
Yeah.
And I lived in a little one-bedroom house, and we were just there until she could have Laurie.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved in with Florence.
Let me just hold on. I'm going to pause this for 1 second. What I want to do. Oops, this doesn't want me to pause. Okay. I got distracted from. You said it was very rural, and you just looked out, and it's probably all built up now.
Sure. It's valuable lands.
Yeah.
About 40 miles from Los Angeles.
Did you own it, or were you renting?
Oh, renting.
Okay.
We didn't have any money.
So, what did you think about for a job when you came in? What did you feel
I finally
trained
got
to
out
do?
in July.
Okay, not 54. Then Lori was born. So now you had a wife and a daughter to support.
I had to come back to here. I had a job on a railroad, which they give you back if you come back.
Okay.
I had 90 days, but we decided to stay there for a year.
Huh. Was that a tough decision? Why not? Kind of a secure job. Is this the job that you told us about last year that your father had sort of a guaranteed job for? So you knew you had that. That was secure.
No, I didn't know. I never knew till he died, long after he died. I found out from an uncle or somebody.
Oh, how strange. That is so funny. Huh.
Anyway, I got a job where Barbara used to work. The warehouse, basically.
So it was kind of blue-collar work?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. I'm just gonna
Unloading railroad cars all day long.
Right.
Put them on pallets. It was a wholesale distributor, basically. And they used to get like 20 railroad cars a day of Campbell soups and everything,
So it was just kind of...
Yeah, just fold them up.
Yeah. But, so how long did you stay there? And you went back to Connecticut, right? Because
Yeah.
Jim was born in Connecticut.
Right. We stayed till the following spring. June. We left.
And Mom was 6 months pregnant then.
Yeah, she was pregnant again.
Uh-huh.
So we left May, I guess.
Okay.
I went to Chicago because I took a correspondence course on diesel mechanics.
Interesting.
And part of it, you had to do 3 weeks of schooling there.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I did. And then...
So you actually lived in Chicago.
Yeah.
Obviously just rented. Were you? How do you stay there for 3 weeks? Did you rent it? Did you stay in a hotel?
Oh, they had apartments weekly.
Okay. Huh. Were you on the lake?
Close, yeah. Could
Wow.
walk down or drive down.
Yeah.
But you were busy all day long. And then on to Danbury.
And you drove all this. You actually,
She didn't know how to drive then.
Mom didn't know how to drive. Huh. I thought that she was driving to work and whatnot when she was out in California.
No, Florence did all the driving.
When did Mom learn to drive?
Well, we got back to Danbury
Okay. That's
at
interesting.
some point then.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so then I got back on the railroad again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
I want to get back to Lori being born. I mean, you were what? You were 21?
almost
22.
21.
No. She was born in 54. So you were almost 22 when she was born. Right? Because you were born in 32, right? And she was born in August. What do you remember
Nothing.
being a father for her
Oh,
first?
God, I'm a father.
Did you, I think a lot of dads sort of enjoy playing with the kids as they get older and aren't sure what to do with infants. Were you that way?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So once she got to be about 1 year old, then you could throw her up and kind of...
Well, not 1 year, maybe 2 years.
Okay. So you don't remember a whole lot. It was kind of mom's terrain to kind of take care of the little babies.
So, and then we ended up, Barbara's brother had bought a little cottage on the Candlewood Lake. And,
That's pretty.
Yeah. And he suggested we do it, so for...
A vacation cottage.
Yeah, $400, that was our down payment. $8,000 was the total cost.
Boy, if you would have kept it, think how much it'd be worth today.
I remember one time we went up to the lake. Oh, that was probably 25 years ago. It was $60,000.
Oh my gosh.
Probably $6 million by now. Who knows? But
So
anyway, we
yeah.
lived in that. It really cute. I fixed it up. We fixed it up very nicely, and put a furnace in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's where Jim was born.
yes, and we lived there in Pat
Wow. You lived there for how many years then?
almost 5 years.
Was it design? Were other people living there year round, or
A few people.
Okay, most people kind of use it as a vacation home.
Well, it's not a vacation home. It's really a cottage. It's two little bedrooms,
Okay,
kitchen, a living room, and a bathroom.
okay, interesting. That's a long time. Tell us a little bit more about. I mean, did the kids play in the lake?
Yeah, we used to go down to the lake a lot. We just had it was very, very steep. You had to, you could take the car down or you could walk down. And, we had that, so Lucy and Jack used to come more frequently because they had access through us.
And of course, they had kids your kids' age, so the kids got to know their cousins.
A little bit. And then if Dick Hubbard, he was only 100 feet away from us.
Mom's brother.
So they had two kids.
They were living there too.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so the kids got to hang out with Michael and Linda,
Right.
which is kind of cool.
And the years slide by very fast.
I
Nothing
know.
occurring.
Tell me about what you were doing in terms of jobs. I mean, you started off sort of, kind of grunt work, blue collar work, but you weren't satisfied with that.
I took testing. That's it. The Marine Corps, a service gives you an opportunity to get tested for evaluations, what you might be good in. It turned out I was very good in math.
Okay.
So they recommended drafting and design.
So that's why you got into that.
Exactly.
Interesting.
I had taken a course, again from Chicago. I didn't have to go out though. Correspondence course for a year.
Okay.
Worked on that. But then I saw an ad in the paper looking for map makers, and I had an interview and they accepted me. And,
A map maker.
yeah,
Interesting.
did that for
Which is
about
very
3 years.
fine, detailed work, right? How? When
Yeah,
did
I used to put the contours on the map,
the contours?
freehand.
So you would know, for example, you had to know the topography
Right.
because you'd have to put the contours of the mountains and the hills and whatnot.
And the
Interesting.
houses, like a city of Norwalk, we got that job to map the whole city. You had to put every house on. Barbara used to, they would hire her too on Saturdays or something, weekdays once in a while, because we were getting behind. And she had little templates, put little houses on block after block.
I
It's
can't
about the
believe.
most boring thing I can imagine.
Yeah. So I mean, how many people did Norfolk have? 1 million?
No.
Okay.
No, maybe 40,000.
Yeah, but still, that's a lot of houses to
A
draw
lot
on.
of houses, a lot of streets. I put all the streets in and everything.
How do they know where all the houses are? I mean, do you have aerial maps that you're following?
Yeah, what he did was he'd fly over the city, strip after strip, and make 9 by 9 glass
Negatives?
positives of them.
Okay.
Not negative, positives, I guess.
Okay.
And then you put them in a special machine, and this light would come through, and it would come through in a little dot, and that was the contour line. And that guy would put the lines on a big piece of sheet paper. Then I would take that, lay linen cloth on it, and put all the streets in churches and cemeteries.
How long did that project take?
Well, almost a year,
Wow. That's fascinating.
Right.
So who was employing you? This was the city of Norfolk
No,
doing this,
no.
or?
Rainer Aerial Surveys.
Okay.
And I was there from 56 to 59. And then Jim Foley suggested there's no promotions in that. Where you got to go in that little company?
Yeah.
And he was right. So he said, why don't you come down to AMF,
What's AMF?
American Machine and Foundry,
Okay.
where he was working.
Right.
It was in Greenwich. And I went down and got a job as a draftsman.
Well, there's a little more to this story, right?
Lots.
No, it's a great story though, and no one's going to come back and arrest you at this point. But
No,
you had this was.
I didn't have any experience in that type of work.
But you felt you could do it.
Yeah, I figured I could do it.
Okay, and what was the kind of work? It was
drafting.
Okay.
So he said, "Why don't you claim 2 years experience?" Since Dick had his own business by then.
Yeah.
He said, "Say you work for Hubbard's sheet metal company."
Okay.
And of course, the FBI checked because you got to get a secret clearance.
Oh my gosh.
So I guess they got in touch with him or something.
There might be an FBI file on you somewhere.
Oh, no doubt. Well, it wouldn't be for that. It would be for all the marching during the Vietnam War.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway.
So you claimed 2 years experience. Now, were you a little
funny.
worried you were going to be found out?
Not much. Most they would do is let you go.
Yeah. So they gave you the job.
Yeah.
But then you didn't really know.
I didn't know which end is up. But, what I learned to do was, it was a big drafting room, probably 30 guys.
Yeah.
And I'd ask the guy next to me, and then the next question would be 3 guys down. So I kept getting information without showing how naive I was around it.
It reminds me of when Teresa was visiting me in Japan. Everybody knew who she was because, it was an all-Japanese village, and she had her little chocolate addiction going. She was 13, and I think while I was off teaching, she was living on chocolate. But she was too embarrassed to buy all of her chocolate from one store. So she would bike to all the different stores and buy one chocolate bar in each and bring it all home. It's kind of like what you were doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want people to find you. That's where Teresa got it from.
Yeah, but anyway, but I was very diligent working. I did not talk to anybody because I didn't want to expose myself.
Yeah. How long before?
So it looked good to the manager.
Oh,
so
yeah?
Quickly,
You got promoted?
I got promoted.
Wow.
Well, I got invited after a year and a half to go to California.
And that's where I was born out in California.
Right.
Before we start talking about California, there's a couple of things I want to ask you. Kind of continuing with work, how long? I mean, you went in. It must have been a little scary.
Well, sure.
You knew you were going to have to figure out this from looking at people and wing it. You were going to wing it. How long before you sort of felt like, okay, I know what I'm doing?
About 6 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. They asked me to work overtime,
Was it a nice raise from what you had been doing?
No, I had to take a cut.
Oh, but you felt it had more of a future. Okay. Was Mom nervous at all about
Changing?
About changing, about going down a little bit in pay? No, she wasn't.
No.
She pretty much just
I
felt.
don't remember that being discussed.
Yeah.
No, it was probably. Let's see, I was making $22.25 an hour.
Wow.
$90
$90 a week.
a week.
Huh.
And when I started at AMF, I think it was $85.
Okay.
But $5 wasn't too much.
Yeah.
And the overtime more than made up for it.
Right. Looking back at those years in the 50s, so you got married in 53, Lori was born in 54, and then you moved...
Jim in 55.
Jim in 55, Pat in 60. So those years, especially the big chunk on Lake Candlewood.
They were fun years.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you remember from them?
It's just a very nice time in our lives, We had a little more money, because I used to work 56 hours a week.
Wow. Putting in overtime.
4 hours extra a night, 2 nights, and 8 hours Saturday.
Wow.
But it was, making, so we could take little trips,
Sure.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you remember, so you felt like you didn't feel like you were scraping by. You felt like you were comfortable. And which helps, if you're stressed about money. It's what do you remember doing with? By this point, Lori and Fred would have been or Lori and Jim, excuse me, would have been 3 and 4 and 4 and 5. And do you remember playing with them and what kinds of stuff you do?
Oh yeah, all through life I think I played with the kids.
Yeah, you've always been. Yeah, I remember that very clearly growing up. Do you remember, any memories of like special things you did with them when they were during those years at Candlewood?
No.
Did you go for hikes or
Yeah, I guess hikes. We used to go picnicking a lot.
on the lake?
Well, we were on the lake.
Oh,
We'd
so
go to some other park or something.
okay. Were you keeping up with your siblings and both of you, your parents at this point? How often do you think you saw your parents, for example?
Yeah, like for instance, my father, we used to drive him to work to church on Sunday.
Huh.
Because he had a wooden leg.
And your mom couldn't drive?
No.
So tell me about that. I mean, you drive down, how long was it a drive to Danbury?
Well, about 12 minutes.
That close? I didn't realize Lake Candlewood was...
Well, the closest part of Lake Candlewood was about 5 minutes away. We were a little further.
Okay. So you'd all go to church together?
And my mother would take care of the kids.
Oh.
And I would drive my father down and take him back, and sometimes we'd have dinner there, and other times we'd go home.
Mm-hmm. What were your parents like as grandparents?
Well, they weren't too involved.
Okay.
Maybe they didn't know how to deal with children,
I got the sense that your father rather, was talkative and a lot of fun.
Talkative, yeah, and fisher and fanatic.
Okay.
So he had to come up to the lake. He had to come to our place.
Okay.
And fish all day.
Okay. But not so much, like he wasn't a big hands-on grandfather.
No.
With Lori and Jim, for example. Yeah. What about the
Excuse me, is that empty, Gail?
Yep.
Huh?
Yes.
Oh, gotta put some in. I tested the water. It needs some badly.
I'm doing that, honey.
Sorry,
Thank
Dad.
you.
My kids have contaminated it. I remember as a kid, seeing the extended family a lot. I would imagine, you got to see Mom's family a fair bit?
No.
Or not so much?
No.
Because they were in Danbury too, weren't they?
Yeah. Her older brother and his wife were...
Bob?
Which
one, Bob or Dick?
No, there's one about this diameter in there.
And what would it be called?
Bromide.
Do you want me to turn this off so you can go look for it? We're filling up the filter for the sake of future generations that watch this tape.
So her older brother and his wife, they built a house in Danbury, but they were very...
Bob or Dick?
Bob.
Bob, okay. Okay. You didn't see them as much?
Yep. No, we didn't see them very much at all.
I wonder why.
Well, they were... he just didn't care for company too much.
Interesting.
Yeah, he got married late.
Yeah.
In fact, he was a prisoner of war. His plane got shot down over Germany or something.
In World War II? That's right. I forgot about that.
And they got into Switzerland somehow.
He escaped?
Yeah. I never hear the story totally, but they got to Switzerland, which Swiss were neutral, and Swiss would help them get back to England.
Wow. Huh.
So anyway...
he was a bit standoffish, though.
Yeah, very much so, and his wife was very shy. Because he was 40... I think late 30s.
When he
got married, and she was about 19.
Oh my gosh. He wanted a...
Yeah, anyway, so he wouldn't, would see him at Christmas time.
Okay.
And we'd go to their house.
How about, now, had Florence, was she back?
Yeah, she came back with us, not traveling with us, but came back to
Same
East.
time.
And then went to work for AMF, and that's where she met Jim.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And they got married in 57, I think.
And did they move to New Milford right away?
Oh, no.
Oh, they were in Danbury also?
Yeah, they were in Danbury.
Okay. Had Mom's parents moved back to Danbury by this point?
Yeah, well, they summered and wintered in Florida. They would
Okay.
take the trailer down there and
Okay.
stay there from, well, right after Christmas till April, I guess.
Yeah. How was her dad's health by this point?
Well, he had asthma,
Right.
which is very limited. He couldn't work the last probably 10 years of his working life, so she had to work. You know, so they had a great. Well, fortunately, they developed the land. They had a farm, and they developed the land and made some, you know, nice money. I would assume.
Okay.
You know, nice money then would be, you know, $6,000 for a lot or something.
Right. Right.
You know, which was almost for most people half a year's pay at least.
Yeah, that's a good amount of money. So a typical week in your life, you would work 50, 60 hours a week. Would you be able to come home for supper, or would you just come home?
No.
Would you come home after the
I
kids
had
were
an hour
asleep?
commute from
Oh.
Danbury to Greenwich.
Wow.
So I'd get home at 9:30 when I worked 12
So
hours.
you actually, there were days where you didn't really see the kids.
No. Yeah, because I had to leave at 7 to get in at 8.
Wow. That's tough.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you did what you
and
needed to do.
did you do that 5 days a week, or
No, 2 days.
2 days.
And
Okay.
then 3 days, the normal time.
And what was the normal time coming home?
Well, get home about 6:30.
Okay, so then you'd get to eat supper together.
Yeah,
Did you work on the weekends?
Yeah, Saturday,
All day?
all day.
Wow.
Well, I was grateful for the money.
Yeah. What'd you do? That's tough though. That's a lot of not much time to did you keep up with reading at this point in your life, or it must have been hard?
Yeah, not much time, but
Yeah.
I did, you know, read.
Yeah. Because I think of you as a reader. And you didn't have a whole lot of time.
No, but you know, you make it.
Yeah. What was a typical Sunday like? Would you often go visit
No,
a family member, or
no, not
just the
really.
5 of you, or the 3 or 4 of you, and then later with Pat, the 5 of you?
Not really. I don't remember doing that too much. We do it occasionally.
So you
Plus the occasions like birthdays.
Right.
It seems like kids are always having
having
birthdays
they tend to do that. They just keep getting older.
come around.
So you probably would just hang out and kind of do something fun, just your family.
You know, in the summer it was nice. The beach was right there.
Sure.
So right after coming home from
Sure.
church, we'd have lunch and
Sure.
go downstairs, go down the hill.
When you and Mom got married, I remember hearing stories that you talked about 12 kids. Do you remember
A
that?
little naive, yeah. Yeah.
What was, since you came from a family of only 3, what was appealing to you about a big family? I mean, why do you think that
We
was...
thought God was.
Okay, we're going to pause.
Are they come?